They said a single look could silence a room, yet the moment the seal stormed toward her, boots pounding against the metal floor, it wasn't silence that followed. It was tension, thick and electric, the kind that warns you something extraordinary is about to unfold. "Where's your superior?" he growled, towering over her. She didn't flinch. Didn't blink. Didn't even straighten the slightly crooked collar of her uniform. Instead, she simply smiled. "Standing right in front of you." And in that heartbeat, before anyone else could breathe, before the world caught up, everything changed. This is the story of the moment a legend was born, and the battle she had to face long before she ever stood in a room full of doubters. Eva Reyes had always been the kind of person people underestimated, too small, too quiet, too soft-spoken for the world she wanted to conquer. Growing up in a worn-down coastal town where storms hit harder than opportunities, she learned early that strength wasn't measured by volume, but by what you could survive. Her father, a fisherman with hands scarred by nets and years, taught her that. He used to say, "The ocean doesn't care if you're ready. It only cares if you're brave." After he passed in a storm Eva never fully recovered from, his words stayed stitched into her bones. She kept them close, closer than anything. But bravery, she soon discovered, wasn't something people always wanted to see in her. When she joined the military academy, she learned what doubt really looked like. It wasn't shouted insults or open disrespect. It was quieter, raised eyebrows, short pauses, instructors saying, "Are you sure you're ready?" when they meant, "I don't think you have what it takes." While others trained with confidence, Eva trained with something sharper, necessity. She ran until her lungs burned, lifted until her arms trembled, studied until her vision blurred. She didn't want to be good. She had to be exceptional. She needed to be the kind of leader no storm, not even human ones, could break. Her rise wasn't fast, and it wasn't pretty. She made mistakes. She failed tests. She got back up the next day covered in bruises and pushed harder. And slowly, painfully, she earned something rare, the respect of those who believed respect had to be won through sweat. By the time she qualified for her command position, she had learned more about sacrifice than most officers twice her age. But even with her achievements, whispers followed her like shadows, especially from those who believed titles should come with a certain familiar face or a certain familiar voice. But shadows couldn't stop her. She kept moving. And then came the mission that would test everything. Her unit had been summoned for a high-stakes joint operation with a team of elite Navy SEALs, a partnership built on pressure and mistrust even on good days. Her team waited anxiously in the briefing room, the air thick with uncertainty. That was when he walked in. Chief Petty Officer Jackson Hale, taller than the doorframe, muscles built from years of impossible operations, a man whose reputation circled bases like wildfire. He didn't look at her unit. He looked at her, straight through her, as if analyzing every breath she took. "Where's your superior?" he asked. A challenge. A test. A warning. Her heart thudded. Not because she feared him, but because she had seen that look before. The look of someone who had decided who she was before she had the chance to speak. She inhaled slowly. Then smiled. "Standing right in front of you." And just like that, the first spark of war, or destiny, ignited. But the mission ahead would push her beyond confidence, beyond courage, and into the deepest parts of herself she had never dared to confront. And if she failed, it wouldn't just cost her a title. It would cost lives. The room went silent after her response, the kind of silence that stretches your nerves until they feel like threads about to snap. The SEAL's jaw tightened, a flicker of something unreadable crossed his eyes, surprise, annoyance, maybe even respect, buried so deep he wouldn't admit it if asked. Her unit shifted behind her, uncertain whether to brace for conflict or feel proud. Eva didn't give them time to wonder. She stepped forward, extending a hand. "Commander Eva Reyes," she said calmly. "Your coordinating officer for this operation." He didn't shake her hand immediately. For a long second, all he did was stare. But finally, with the smallest nod, his hand clasped hers, firm, unyielding, but not crushing. She matched his grip without hesitation. "Chief Hale," he replied. "Let's see if your team can keep up." It wasn't an insult. Not exactly. but it was a line drawn in the sand. The briefing began with satellite images, mission parameters, and timelines. Ava spoke with precision, outlining each detail with the confidence of someone who had lived inside the data. Hale listened with a look that made her feel like she was being measured on a scale only he understood. When she finished, he crossed his arms. "You're planning for best-case scenarios," he said. "Real missions don't go that way." "And I'm preparing so the worst case never arrives," she countered. A murmur spread through the room. She didn't look away. Their standoff ended only when her second-in-command, Torres, jumped in to break the rising tension. But even as the briefing continued, Ava knew the real battle had just begun, not with the enemy ahead of them, but with the ally standing right beside her. Later, as the unit prepared for departure, she felt the weight of leadership settle on her shoulders again. Doubt clawed at her, quiet, familiar, vicious. What if you're not good enough? What if they see right through you? What if your father wouldn't be proud? She closed her eyes, gripping the dog tag she wore beneath her uniform, her father's. She remembered his laugh, warm and unshakable, and the way he told her that the only thing stronger than fear was purpose. She breathed out slowly. Then Hale approached. "You've got guts," he said. It wasn't a compliment. It was an observation. "But guts don't save teams." "No," Ava said softly. "Leadership does." He studied her again, the way a man studies a storm forming on the horizon. "We'll see." That night, the sky over the base rumbled with thunder. Ava stood alone outside the barracks, rain speckling her face. Each drop felt like a reminder of where she came from, how storms shaped her, tested her, hardened her. She wasn't here to prove herself. She was here to lead. Tomorrow, she would face her greatest challenge yet. But the bigger fight, the one inside her, was already happening. And she was determined to win. Because for the first time in her life, she wasn't the girl who wasn't meant to lead. She was the commander standing right in front of them. And the world was finally about to see why.